why we hold this land is to hold our spiritual values. It's the sun dance we have here, and we've been harassed from all sides, even from our own people. We have something here which we have to protect, defend, and to hold for our children. We've got to have our own, from the Creator given down to us. That's what we're trying to build, a nation. Our own Shuswap nation, Secwepemc nation. What I'm talking about is we have to have our own ways, find our direction from the Great Spirit. And the day we came this far, now we're having a hasslement from our people, from the government, from the rangers. But that seems like a normal thing when you're looking for something that's special.
According to the prophecies of the Anishinaabe people, the Ojibwe, the 7 prophets that came to our people and warned us of the dangers that were coming ahead of time. We are now in the final prophecy, the 7th prophecy, or the 7th fire, where the people of the Anishinaabe people would come to light and understand this prophecy, where these people would rise in a peaceful manner to put their nation back into its proper position.
All right, what's going on here?
Well, we're just making, at this point, we're making preparations for the eventuality of nothing less than an invasion by the RCMP. And the reason for this is that we heard a report over the weekend. There was a report that was put out by the Minister of Indian Affairs of British Columbia that basically said that they did not recognize our presence here as legitimate, that they basically saw this land as belonging to a cattle rancher involved in heavy cattle industry, and that Lyle James was a private owner of the land in violation of what we see as the sovereignty rights of the Shuswap people here. They said that they were going to order the Royal Canadian Mounted Police to evict us on Monday morning. This is Monday morning, so we're getting prepared right now. Our position is that the Royal Mount, the RCMP, has absolutely no jurisdiction to enforce any kind of laws to evict anybody here on this land, which is not private property. It's in violation of the original 1763 Royal Proclamation Act that guarantees the sovereignty of unceded territories, that all lands that are unceded by the indigenous populations, in this case the Shuswap nations, all the unceded territories will be left unmolested and undisturbed. Faithkeeper of the Shuswap Nation, Percy Rosette, Swore Chief Ernie, and others have asked for our assistance, and we're saying that if they come in here to arrest anybody and or forcibly remove somebody, we'll see that and view that as an official act of war. We're going nowhere until this matter is resolved on the highest levels, and only the Queen herself and our Lord of Wars and the Privy Council can intervene right now to address the questions that have been put up before. What we've got here is the ongoing process of colonization that must be stopped and addressed at this moment, and only through international protocol will it be done. So that's what we're here for, and we're making preparations because we are serious about what we are here for. We didn't come here to play. We come here to address this matter, and we're asking all Native nations, man, to assist us in defending the right of these people from losing their land completely for the 7 generations of children that have an inherent right and title to this land.
I became to be here in this Costerson Lake. A few years back, well, the older people, the elders, as they called, and much of the searching for spiritual avenues or to help our people. At that time, was 28 sun dancers that got together. And we asked that some of these people went on a fishing quest. So they came out, we all spread out, but they all ended up over here. They all ended up in the same lake, this man-made lake, and they pointed out this as a spiritual direction they were given.
I'm here today in support of Percy Rosette and the Sundance Society of Gosford Lake. And we will remain here and defend this land with our lives and have.
Okay, I am from here, born here from the Knufik band. I am a Shuswap. My name is Hochek. And here on this sacred spot here on the Sundance ground here, where my ancestors had lied for many years, going to make our stand with what we believe in. And we thank some of our brothers from the east, the Mohawk nations.
They asked me to be a spokesperson for them when this thing first. One of the spokespeople that helped them to talk with those parties that stood to lose, James Cattle, as well as the collaborators locally here from the various bands. So I responded as an individual, not as a delegate or a representative from the Mohawk Nation, but I came as an individual allied to the traditional hereditary system of the Central Sundance people here, as well as the faith keeper of the Shuswap Nation here. I ask you to talk to one of our friends over here, our allies from the Anishinaabe Nation, and he'll tell you why he's here.
Well, the reason why I'm here is to back up what our people are fighting for in the mountains. We are the keepers of the peace pipe, and according to the great law, the peace pipe, the duty of the peace pipe is to back up the peoples of the mountain and also the peoples of the wampum. We are performing our duties to the fullest extent according to the great law.
Why are you two here?
Because we came here to see the Sundance and to learn more spiritual stuff, and the white men are trying to steal us, and these warriors around here are going to defend this land and protect this land from the white people.
What are you doing here, OJ?
Me? I'm here for a thing called destiny. And this is my will drive me to, and this is the place where I was meant to come to. This is the place where I'm going to stay. This is, I really strongly believe in destiny.
One of the reasons why that my people from the Anishinaabe territory came over here was because of a vision that took place that directed us to this area here. according to the vision, that we were to meet 3 people here, 3 spiritual people. And these 3 people were in this camp. 2 of them are of the Shuswap territory, and the other one was of the wampum, of the Mohawk. And they speak of the 3 fires, the 3 fires that come together. And this indicated that those 3 fires did come into alliance here, according to the prophecy.
I was given a call one night further east that they were having troubles out here. And basically the situation started out as a call for help against about 15 cowhands who came here on behalf of Lyle James, who was involved heavily in the meat industry in terms of cattle grazing here. And the immediate issue was that they were calling for the eviction of Percy and his family, who have basically been here for about 6 years, maintaining the Sundance ceremonies here, which, by the way, I am a Sundancer. These white racist ranchers basically threatened Percy and his family with being lynched or burning down their council house here, their cookhouse, forcibly removed off of their land. Inside of their trucks, they were armed with all kinds of assault weapons. Like I said, they made many threats of forced eviction, thinking that these people were basically by themselves and didn't have anybody to back them. Well, they have a lot of friends. And so friends and allies just automatically surfaced from everywhere. And since they were armed, well, it was probably necessary for us to be armed as well. And if they were going to make do on their threats to burn down the cookhouse and string up some red niggers, well, we were going to make sure that they didn't. So subsequently, in the process, we challenged Lyle James on the suspicion that some kind of illegal deals were going down. And we had to even call into question, how the hell did he even get grazing rights here? In our research, we found out that there was a lot of collaborating going on by the regional band council systems. And part of the reason that this situation probably got warmed up the way it did is because we put up a fence that was an old fence that was over there to keep the cattle boxed in at some point. But we put up the fence. We put up the fence so that the cattle wouldn't come in and defecate on sacred grounds. I guess they saw this as establishing turf, and as innocent as it sort of evolved of itself, they created a reaction that they thought was going to just get rid of the problem real quick before all these questions came out. How did this land get sold? Who sold this land? By what authority? Well, to this date, this Lyle James hasn't produced a deed, refuses to reproduce a deed. We're maintaining that this land was not for sale. It was done under corruption and it was done under fraud. And basically, I think we're reasserting at this point that this land was never sold by the hereditary people, and therefore it's null and void. And what we're really doing, in essence, is at this point, we're reclaiming this land for the hereditary people. This guy, Lyle James, this rancher, this grazer, is going to have to get his cows and go back to America. That this land has got to be restored to the original Shuswap title holders. And if it isn't restored, then we stand on the fact that we will engage them on any level that they intend to bring with their military and/or law enforcement agencies. But we do want to state very clearly that our position is that we would like to see a peaceful resolve.
According to the prophecy, the Queen will be asked if she will honor the treaties that were signed with her. And if she refuses to sign these treaties and makes the wrong choice, then there'll be pain and suffering to all of Earth's children. But if the right choice is made, the prophecy explains that these two nations will come together and a mighty nation would rise.
We said our demands basically is that this issue must be dealt with by the Queen, by the monarchy, and it must be dealt with nation to nation under the original terms of the 1763 Royal Proclamation Act.
Well, I'm very interested in this. I hadn't realized that you were sort of told you were going to be evicted.
Like I say, you know, this is a very serious situation, and it can only get resolved at the highest levels, nation to nation. It's in violation of the of our resources and or the illegal occupations of our land and our resources, and our right to hereditary title. This is how high we're going. We're not going to, we don't care what the federal government has to say, because they're the ones that are leading the scam against us. Ron Irwin and all his boys.
Yeah, exactly.
The whole system in Canada is premised upon a usurpation of jurisdiction, which is treasonable, fraudulent, and genocidal. It is, in terms of an institutional structure, you can't get a bigger lie. The fraud in the native context is an obvious fact of history. The Indians had the land, and the settlers wanted it. The mechanisms that the law provided, that the queens and kings set down for acquiring the land in a legal fashion, was cumbersome. And so the fraud was the process of bypassing this treaty process.
Bruce Clark has challenged even the whole colony of British Columbia and their presence in native lands. He has challenged them under the 1763 Royal Proclamation Act, which basically guarantees the native nations the right to sovereignty, to exercise sovereignty, free of any colonial regimes and restrictions. And basically it states that all unceded territories within BC, or right across the board of native nations, shall be left unmolested and undisturbed. And it shall also be granted the protection of the monarchy should any federal and or provincial governments supersede its jurisdiction within the native territories.
British Columbia don't have a right to set up government here in this province, that this is still in the land. They don't want to listen. They close their ears. Because all they had in 1803 was only a right to trade within people. This was in the Hudson Bay Charter of 1803.
In 1875, shortly after British Columbia had joined the Union, the Deputy Minister of Justice prepared a very lengthy report observing that since there were no treaties, British Columbia had no jurisdiction. And he signed it. The Minister of Justice signed it. Then it went to the Federal Cabinet. The Federal Cabinet signed it. And the Governor General signed it. And what they signed was a commitment or recognizing that under Section 90 of the British North America Act, now our Constitution Act 1867, the Dominion government was under a constitutional obligation to disallow, that is to strike down, the British Columbia land legislation. That was 1875. In 1876, Sir John A. Macdonald and his government, instead of implementing their own 1875 admission, passed the Indian Act of that year. And that was a watershed development, because coupled with it, Sir John A. Macdonald resolved to apply the Indian Act to the unsurrendered hunting grounds. The policy that was implemented, presumably not to give umbrage to the political realities of keeping British Columbia in the Union was to allow the British Columbia Lands Act, that was patently unconstitutional, to continue to be applied. In 1880, the Indian Act was amended to make it illegal for the life chiefs, that is, for the hereditary system, Indian system, to exist whenever there was an elected Indian Act system. This is not an unusual process. This is a normal process that exists in every occupation situation. It existed in Roman Judea, it existed in Nazi Germany. When a major power invades the territory of a lesser power, invariably the practice has been to set up puppet governments and to finance them and to have a program which will make it, in some fashion, make it possible to cull the resistors.
So that tells me that the structure that's there is designed to destroy my people.
This country is so corrupt. And the corruption starts right from here, from the DIA system, the band council system, right to the very top. This is the corruption that we're up against.
They expedite this, this illegal presence here and this usurpation of the resources, as well as the assimilation and the annihilation of the culture of the people, in a fraudulent manner, with the use of these imposters that they pay, that they educate to do their dirty work in these band council systems, which is nothing but a puppet system for the whole colonial regime known as Canada.
There's no point fighting with the puppets. You have to fight with the person who's pulling the puppet strings. And the puppet strings are, it's this institutionalized lie upon which the country is premised. It's the institutionalized hypocrisy of pretending we have a society based upon the rule of law when 70% of its land base is based upon the usurpation that's ultra-virus, fraudulent, treasonable, and genocidal. Those things can't be reconciled without a cleaning out process of the legal profession.
We don't have any other choice but to go back to the place of original jurisdiction, which lies with the Queen. This is our stated position to the Governor General, for which should open the doors to the Privy Council and the Queen. Because I don't believe that in Canada here would receive any justice.
A lot of people here, don't understand what the relationship with the Queen has to do with our people. But, we look upon this as the court of original jurisdiction.
The flag of British Columbia was a guarantee that Great Britain would protect unceded territories with its standing armies if it had to, if there was a domestic conflict. And that the Shuswap nation, which is symbolized by the sun and other symbols on their original flag, would be paralleled as sovereign nations, nations to nations, with the crown. And that's what this BC flag represents.
What's on there is our agreements with Great Britain when they came on this soil. That as long as the sun shines and as long as these 3 rivers through our territory flows, this Indian land.
It's an international agreement on both the Queen's crown and our same, it's equal. None is higher and none is lower. Side by side, they got the same powers.
The Queen can and is not only privileged to do, but our submission is under a legal obligation to refer the matter to a constitutional court. There is simply no other institution.
Have you approached the Privy Council? Have you talked to them and said, do you want to resolve this issue and you want to sit down at the table and talk to them about it?
Absolutely, ma'am, but they want to keep it out of the public's eye. And the reason because they know that we're right. And the fact of the matter is Dr. Bruce Clark is the one that has been trying to access the Privy Council door and the Queen's door and has been led around in circles and told that he has been disbarred in Canada because he has charged the government basically with complicity in genocide, treason, and fraud. From the Canadian government right on down to the tribal council systems, the band council systems. And he's trying to access the Queen in Buckingham Palace. And apparently the Queen is not getting the message because she has an obligation under the 1763 Royal Proclamation Act to actually defend our right against any form of domestic conflict. We don't even belong in any federal courts and or provincial courts on any of these matters. It has to be done through an independent international tribunal with the Queen and the Queen only.
Are you gonna go?
Oh yeah, I will go. Gotta answer this. Give some answers and get some feedback on it. So I believe we're getting across here somehow.
Where are you going to go?
It's beginning
Are you going to go see your papa?
opening. We'll go for it. Hey.
We'll call down here for dinner and talk with the elders on their concerns on Big Lake. But it seemed to me that finding a solution to the problem, they have personal attacks on the people that's making a stand on this land. These are some of the things that our people are good at. The elected people would help bring us out, probably had a strategy on all this, and they refused to listen to what's really coming down. I've warned them about what is coming in a new world order.
According to the covenants, the 6 covenants that were given to the peoples of the world, there was a battle that ensued between the tribal people and the breakaway, the renegade governments. This battle was lost by the renegade governments, the Roman Empire, or the First World Order. And there was an unconditional surrender that took place by these governments. But over time, They made another attempt to overrule the covenants that were given. And it's run into this time that we're in today. They know of this unconditional surrender, that it has to be fulfilled. This is why the governments of today are doing everything they can to suppress this, to keep that unconditional surrender hidden, so that it never surfaces again. In order for them to gain control of all the nations of the world, they first must annihilate peace treaty agreements. According to the prophecies, this Antichrist of the New World Order, in order to defeat the Creator and his covenants, he must obtain 100% consent from all nations of the globe to come under his wing.
We're all marked by this one world corporate monarchy called the New World Order, headed by David Rockefeller, here in the U.S.
My people and other peoples that get this message and wake up to it will resist. We're fighting for our rights to live in harmony, not to be enslaved under this new order. So our people standing here are in their full right.
Like David Rockefeller has stated, that the enemy to the interest of the one world corporate economic power structure was the whole question of national sovereignty, the question of the nation, the power of the state, the power of the constitutional rights. All of this got in the way to the quest for resources, both in this hemisphere and around the world, and their establishment of a global slave economy.
We have a fear for the future of our generations, for our children, our people as a whole, to exist under that new format known as the New World Order.
Because it's not just the Indian people that are in danger now. This system that we're talking about in the near future is going to try and build just two classes of people. Be just the people that are on top and the slaves.
The Indian people have been targets right up to this date. Now the target is shifted over to the middle class white communities in the New World Order. In '97, the money crunch would be on. That's when the white population would be really hit hard at that time. Especially with all the bank loans that they have. Everybody would be losing everything they have, all what they work for. So either the people that's going to view this then must have to take a different view than the people in their struggle, or they're going to be struggling right alongside of us if they choose to come in with us.
David Rockefeller states that it was necessary for the powers to be to defang any resistance to the interest of the New World Order. Defanging means once they have set up their military forces and law enforcement agencies in an international police state around the world, and predominantly in the Western Hemisphere, there will be an unleashing of the worst tyranny that you've ever seen in creation. This has been prophesied. It'll make Hitler look like a schoolboy.
Here we have people that's making a stand up the big lake for the rest of the people, or the rights of the people. Yet are being called down right in public. This is not right. I told them so. They are only there to listen to them, the bitching and whatnot, and not one has the balls to stand up for the rights of the people. When it's over and done with, I don't know what these people are going to do, because I warned them and what's coming down in the New World Order, and they fail to listen. Maybe when that time comes, when these people start coming to our door, our campfire, ask for that help. I'll just tell them goddamn assholes to get the fuck out of here and don't come around. Because that's what they done to us by shitting on us today. All we got was shit.
So in other words, what we've got a blatant cover-up by the Canadian government, and they have absolutely no jurisdiction insofar as this international protocols and covenants are concerned. And this is the agenda that we are raising, and it's the only agenda that we're raising. Why should one white American come up here and raise 200 head of cattle or 500 head of cattle when all of the hereditary people never knew that this land was sold, and then be told that they were going to be evicted at the point of guns by about 15 cowhands? Hello? Hello? Ceases.
I'm thirsty, can you water? I'm dirty. I'm filthy. Where's that big hole that I had?
We've decided to form an alliance with the Eastern Door and the Western Door, which is the territory of the Shuswap and the Mohawk, allying ourselves according to the prophecies that were handed down. We know full well the government will get excited because of this move, but we have no choice but to follow up the guidelines of the prophecies. Prophecies will tell us how we should put our government together. Then we have no choice but to hold our position regardless of what.
We should all be allying together as nations to defend the land and not be duped by those at the top.
The message that we're trying to get out to the people is of a peaceful nature. That we'd like to let them know that they have another choice here, other than the choice that was given by the governments. We'd like for them to understand this choice and give them the opportunity to come under the jurisdiction of the great law of peace and goodwill to all mankind. This is an urgent call into our people so that our children could have a better future than what we've been living with.
I guess you could say this is definitely why we're doing everything that we're doing for the next generation. That's what we fight for.
The land always goes to the babies and the unborn. And we're the keepers of that land.
As long as the trees grow big and the grass grows too, it will always be Indian land, and us will be part of this land too.
And we refuse to compromise for 1 penny any of the inheritance of the traditional hereditary people here on this land. They cannot come to us with dollars to make any kind of deals.
The only pristine place left, or almost pristine place left, is BC. It's got a lot of water, a lot of resources yet. If you don't do anything now about it and make up your mind today to do something about that, figure it out from there.
The enemy upholds the interest of 2.2% of the world's population, controlling the world's 100% of the world's resources. The dilemma is coming home to roost for each and every one of us. And I believe that the only solution is to resist.
Because we cannot call ourselves a nation. We don't want to defend what is rightfully ours. How could we speak of our rights when we don't want to defend them? Have to think about it.
Because everybody has to fight for their own life. Even these two here, they have to fight too. When I'm 14, that's when I'll be ready to fight.
Yeah, if they don't stand up for the rights, then they go to the slaughter. It's just like what happened in Germany. When the concentration camps were opened up in Germany for the Jews, then our people are going to go just like sheep, be herded just like sheep, without even a whimper. These are some of the realities our people need to know. Yet our people are afraid. What is? I have a little fear, but just like anybody else. But I have to push that to the side in order to stand for the rights of the people.
There is just something about being a human being that wants to rage and strike out against institutionalized injustice. The native people have not resorted to terrorism. Their victims have been themselves. But we've been the author of that process.
The Creator is watching how the people deal with Indian people, and if the justice does not come soon, then then someone will have to pay the price for that.
If you make peace with this people, with our people on this land, I think everything will be fine. But it hasn't happened yet.
Mankind's got to understand why we're here. He has to understand and listen more clearly to what we're saying instead of racing with this fast technology world. It's like a nightmare, this technical nightmare.
We're coming to a time that's ending. And it's time for everyone to make up their mind what they shall do now. Maybe 5 years left, we all have, to really make up our minds what our real purpose of this on this earth is. You picture yourself, we're just flying through space on a satellite. And the Creator has just given us enough food and enough knowledge to survive. And it's running out.
To return back to the Great Law would be our only chance to survive what's coming, the storm that's coming.
We've got a duty to survive, and we better think about how we're going to do it together. But I can tell you one thing for sure. It's been prophesied that we will come through it. Others may not. Most won't. But the Indigenous that hold on to the land, the Indigenous that live off the land, that fish, that hunt, that grow off the land, that live in nature with harmony with nature, those who live in self-sufficiency, and those who live by the Great Law. We will get through it. But the terror and the horror of the worst Holocaust known through all epochs and millenniums is yet to come. And we're sitting right at the doorstep of that abyss, of that horror and that terror. These are not fear tactics to impress anyone. These are realities. What have your prophecies told you? We know what ours have told us. That's about all I have to say. Lorna.
So this message is of goodwill to our people and all peoples of the earth, that this monster, the corporate structure, must be denied and put out a commission. They too have that opportunity to stop what they're doing and come under this great law. The people that are sitting up in the higher ranks of this structure, of the corporate structure, and the people in between are puppets. These people don't realize what's really going on. They've fallen asleep along with the elders of my people, and time will come when the awakening happens. And this should bring the people to the understanding of why this stance has to be made at the western doorway. Because in due time, very shortly, all peoples will gather in this place who choose to follow the great law.
I thank you very much. If I missed anything, I didn't mean to miss anything. Thank you. Kukstam.
So we went from 2,000 acres
2,000 square miles.
2,000 square miles under the Black Dome Intertribal Agreement in 1832, 2,000 square miles of traditional territory. Then in 1864, under James Douglas, he downsized everything to 300,000 acres of reserve land.
Okay.
But he was a good guy because
when he made that, this 300,000 acres, that was just towards the New Creek, Dog Creek Bend. And that went as far as Nielsen Lake.
Nielsen Lake, okay.
Which is another 2 or 3 kilometers up here.
Right, all right. Right on. Okay, so now who's this guy, Trutch?
Joseph Trutch.
Joseph Trutch, and what does this say?
O'Reilly.
Joseph Trutch O'Reilly Reserves. He downsized it to 14,000 acres land of mostly non-arable land. 1832, your people owned over 2,000 square miles of traditional territory. And that was under the Black Dome Intertribal Agreement. Now, in 1864, the Douglas Reserve, James Douglas, created a reserve that knocked that original Black Dome Intertribal Agreement down to 300,000 acres. Then there was a guy by the name of Joseph Trutch O'Reilly, who was a real racist, who believed that the natives were going to all die from the smallpox that they systematically spread out around here, and that they dropped illegally. He was what was his title here again?
Joseph Trutch was the Lands and Works Commissioner for the Colony of BC.
The Lands and Works Commissioner for the Colony of BC. And this in 1881, he dropped it down to 14,000 acres of mostly non-arable land that he left to the Shuswap. Now, there's 5% of Douglas reserves. What does that mean now? What does that mean?
Well, it went from this size
right
down to that size in the corner.
Right, to this size in the corner. And basically, what they're saying here, it's all done completely illegally. What does this mean to you? And this is a report that he's given to
his superiors about what's going on here.
Well,
All right?
well, what I see it as is a big ripoff. I mean, there's no other way to put it. You know, it was a genocide.
Yeah.
You throw in alcohol through all this time.
Yep.
You also throw in the residential too. Break down other families.
Mm-hmm.
Their beliefs, their language, everything.